I never imagined that owning a historic 150-year-old ranch would come with so much trouble. My family had worked tirelessly for generations to preserve this land, nurturing it with care and love. It wasn't just a property, it was a legacy, a living testament to my ancestors. But that legacy came under threat one fateful afternoon, when the most unlikely person turned my life upside down, the president of HOA. It started with a series of petty complaints about landscaping, fences, and what she called illegal structures on my ranch. I brushed them off at first, assuming she was overstepping her authority. But soon, her complaints escalated into threats. And then one afternoon, she crossed a line that no rational person should ever cross. I was standing by the barn, checking on some renovations, when she appeared out of nowhere, flanked by two of her supporters. Before I could even greet her, she pulled a gun from her purse and waved it in my face, demanding that I surrender portions of my ranch to the HOA. Her voice trembled with fury as she claimed I was violating rules she personally enforced, and that I needed to pay fines or hand over control of the property. At that moment, time seemed to slow down. I looked at her, this woman who had no right to threaten me or my family, and realized that this was bigger than just a disagreement about property rules. It was a test, an audacious, dangerous challenge. But instead of fear, a sense of determination washed over me. My ancestors had built this ranch with their hands and sweat. No single person, not even an HOA president, was going to take it away. I knew confronting her directly with threats or legal arguments would only escalate the situation. But I also realized that to win, I had to think strategically. I started researching the HOA bylaws, reviewing property deeds, and assessing the finances of the entire association. That's when a plan began to form in my mind. If she thought she could bully me, I would turn the tables entirely. Over the next few months, I quietly acquired shares in the HOA, spoke with other members, and bought influence legally and transparently. I became a familiar face at board meetings, offering solutions, contributing to community projects, and gradually earning the trust of the other homeowners. All the while, I stayed calm and composed, careful never to show that I was targeting the president personally. Finally, the day came when I held a controlling stake in the HOA. I called a board meeting and presented a new agenda, restructuring leadership, enforcing rules fairly, and ensuring the safety and rights of all homeowners were prioritized. The board agreed overwhelmingly. The moment of reckoning arrived. She was removed from her position, and her attempts to intimidate or manipulate were nullified. But I didn't stop there. I introduced stricter safety policies and clarified that threatening anyone with a weapon on HOA property was grounds for immediate eviction. And, as the first enforcement of this new rule, the woman who had once pulled a gun on me was asked to leave the community. It was a moment of justice, but also a moment of reflection. The power she had wielded through fear was gone, replaced by fairness, law, and accountability. Through this experience, I learned that threats and aggression often come from insecurity and ignorance. While she had tried to frighten me into submission, her actions only strengthened my resolve. Owning the HOA allowed me to protect not just my property, but also the rights and safety of every homeowner. It transformed a terrifying confrontation into a lesson in patience, strategy, and persistence. The ranch, of course, remained untouched. Life returned to its peaceful rhythm, and the land continued to thrive. My family and I could finally enjoy the fruits of our labor without fear of arbitrary threats. And the HOA, it became a well-managed, supportive community where rules were fair, and safety was paramount. This story isn't just about revenge or taking back what is rightfully yours. It's about resilience, the power of strategic thinking, and standing firm when others attempt to bully or intimidate. It reminds me that sometimes the best way to fight injustice isn't with anger or confrontation, but with patience, planning, and decisive action when the time is right. Now, every time I walk through the fields of my 150-year-old ranch, I feel a sense of pride not only for what my ancestors built but also for the courage and wisdom that allowed me to protect it. The woman who once thought a gun could take what was mine learned the hard way that respect, authority, and legacy cannot be threatened by fear alone. In the end, the ranch stands as a symbol of perseverance, strategic thinking, and the unwavering determination to defend one's heritage. And I learned that sometimes, the best way to confront danger is not with immediate confrontation, but with a plan that ensures long-term security and justice. The day the HOA president pulled a gun on me was the day I realized just how far some people would go to assert power they didn't deserve. My 150-year-old ranch had been in my family for generations, and we had poured blood, sweat, and heart into preserving it. It wasn't just land, it was history, heritage, and life itself. I had always believed that people who joined the HOA were there to maintain order and harmony, not to threaten property owners at gunpoint. But that illusion was shattered in an instant. It started with small, petty complaints. Fences, sheds, and even the way I planted my crops came under scrutiny. Initially, I tried to reason with her. I provided documents, legal permits, and reassurances. But nothing worked. Each complaint seemed to escalate her obsession. Then one afternoon, I was called to the HOA office under the guise of a meeting. Instead, she met me in the driveway, flanked by two of her friends, and with a wild look in her eyes. Before I could speak, she pulled a gun from her handbag, pointed it at me, and demanded control of my ranch. Her words were sharp and frightening. If I didn't comply, she would make me regret ever defying her. In that terrifying moment, I had two choices: panic or act strategically. Fear could have frozen me, but instead, I felt a surge of resolve. This wasn't just about a property dispute, it was about my family, my heritage, and my safety. Running away or paying off a threat was never an option. I needed a plan that was smarter than aggression, one that would neutralize her power once and for all. I began by researching the HOA bylaws, scrutinizing financial records, and quietly networking with other members. I attended every meeting, contributing constructively, building relationships, and slowly establishing credibility. My goal was to gain influence legally, ethically, and strategically. Over months, I quietly acquired a controlling interest in the HOA, not to create chaos, but to restore fairness and protect the rights of every property owner. Finally, the day came when I held the majority of control. I convened a board meeting, presenting a comprehensive plan to restructure leadership, enforce rules impartially, and prioritize safety and community well-being. I emphasized that no one, under any circumstance, could threaten another homeowner with violence without facing immediate consequences. The board unanimously voted to implement the new policies, and as the first enforcement action, the very woman who had once aimed a gun at me was asked to leave the HOA community permanently. Seeing her leave was surreal. The person who had thought fear and intimidation could control me was now powerless. The sense of vindication wasn't just personal, it was a triumph of logic, strategy, and justice. Her removal wasn't revenge, it was protection for everyone in the community, a clear message that threats and violence would no longer be tolerated. This experience taught me the importance of patience and planning. Confronting a threat head-on can sometimes escalate danger, but thinking several steps ahead allows you to neutralize it effectively. My approach wasn't impulsive, it was calculated, ensuring that the long-term outcome was fair, safe, and just. It turned a potentially violent confrontation into a story of empowerment and strategic victory. With the HOA now under fair management, the community transformed. Rules were applied equitably, safety measures were enforced, and homeowners could enjoy their properties without fear. As for my ranch, it continued to flourish, preserved as it always had been, free from harassment. My family could finally appreciate our hard work, our history, and our home, without the looming threat of violence. Looking back, the incident with the gun was a turning point, not just for me, but for the entire HOA. What began as an attempt to intimidate ended as a lesson in resilience, strategic thinking, and decisive action. I learned that true power comes not from threats or fear, but from knowledge, patience, and the ability to act when it counts the most. Today, when I walk through the fields of my ranch, I feel a profound sense of accomplishment. The land remains a testament to my family's legacy, and the HOA stands as a model of fair governance. The woman who once tried to bully me is now a cautionary tale, a reminder that aggression and intimidation cannot triumph over careful planning and rightful authority. The story isn't just about buying the HOA or evicting someone. It's about understanding the value of legacy, defending what is right, and using intellect over impulsiveness. It's about transforming a threat into a strategic opportunity, ensuring not only personal safety but the well-being of an entire community. And so, the 150-year-old ranch remains protected, its history intact, and its future secure. The lesson is clear: threats can be dangerous, but patience, strategy, and decisive action are far more powerful. The day the HOA pulled a gun on me could have ended